I'm going to be showing one of my favourite decks to play in Standard at the moment, and it's all based around a couple of simple commons. Hello everyone, my name is Aragon Knight, and welcome to my first Magic the Gathering deck tech on this channel. As I said today, I will be showing one of my favourite decks at the moment, Echoing Nightmares for the Standard format. This deck was originally formed due to the release of Wilds of Eldraine, and one common that I felt was a bit pushed in its power level. That common was Hopeless Nightmare, an enchantment for 1 black that when it enters, each opponent loses 2 life and discards a card. You can also sack it for 2 and a black to scry 2, but what we are focusing on today is its enters effect. Once Lost Caverns of Ixalan came out, I got access to another card, Tithing Blade. So this is also a card that I thought was a bit pushed for a common and very quickly made waves in the Pauper format, but took a little longer to catch on in Standard. I played variations of this deck, running cards like Aether Channeler to bounce the Blade and the Nightmare so I could replay them, and also Virtue of Knowledge so I could get additional triggers from them. But the deck really came together when Nurturing Pixie released in Outlaws of Thunder Junction. It's a 1/1 for 1 white with flying that allows you to bounce other non-fairy permanents to hand and gives the Pixie a 1/1 counter. This card was the perfect addition to this deck. The way this deck aims to play is to grind out your opponent with cards such as Hopeless Nightmare and Tithing Blade and reusing them with Pixie and other similar cards, eventually either getting down a Virtue of Knowledge or Elesh Norn Mother of Machines, both of which give additional triggers that allow you to draw more cards, bounce more permanents, and all the while hitting your opponent with small creatures that they will struggle to deal with due to lacking the resources to do so. Other cards in the deck, we have Novice Inspector to draw more cards. We have Charming Prince to either flicker our creatures or provide early scry or life gain. We have Sheltered by Ghost and go for the throat for removal. We have Lord Skitter, Sewer King, to provide board pressure and exile graveyards. And finally, we have Treacherous Greed to give us burst of draw and also life swing. In the sideboard, we have Cut Down, and we also have Phyrexian Missionary for aggro. We have Soul Guide Lantern for graveyard hate. Destroy Evil is for enchantments and Sheldred, because Sheldred's a big problem in the format, and other similar creatures with a high amount of toughness. We have Skullcap Snail to deal with control, as well as No More Lies for the same reason. And finally, we have Nowhere Left to Run. A little bit more removal. Also allows us to deal with a lot of ward creatures. We can also bounce and play it again with the Pixie and Aether Channeler and cards like that. Finally, we have Treacherous Greed. Just one more copy. This is just in case we want to throw this in again against aggro, or if we are up against a particular deck that doesn't really have an answer for it, because this is such a good card if you're able to get it off. Drawing 3 cards and giving a huge life swing is really big in this deck, and it really helps a lot, and we have a lot of small creatures that can take advantage of it. And that is my Echoing Nightmares deck for Standard, so now I'm going to play a couple of games and show the deck off. Alright, we're back playing some best of 3 Standard with the Echoing Nightmares deck. We just got into a match here. Looks like someone in Platinum, which is a bit above us since we're in Gold, but that's alright. We want to play first. This hand's a bit risky to keep. I've technically got what I need to get started, but it forces me to use this Fabled Passage to get a Plains. We can just scry more into lands with Charming Prince, and we do have the Sheltered by Ghost for early removal, but if we don't get more lands, we are in trouble. Even so, because we got such a high fixture on white, I think I'm going to keep it. We can reuse the Charming Prince with Nurturing Pixie, and we can reuse the Sheltered by Ghost with Pixie as well. Or we can play Pixie, bounce the Prince, and then use Sheltered by Ghost on the Pixie. Looks like opponent's having a bit of time deciding. There we go. So this deck runs not a ton of lands. We run 22, I think, which is a little bit on the lower side. But the deck doesn't really need too many lands to function. We do have a lot of creatures that are 2 and 1. Alright, Tithing Blade is good to see, but only if we can get that black mana. So we're going to scribe both of these to the bottom. We could opt to keep the plains as another land, but since Mother Machines are so far away, I just want to scry into a black mana. I'm not sure what opponent's playing at the moment. I haven't seen too many of the Boros decks in Standard. But, oh, there we go. There's the black mana we wanted. That's perfect. Okay, so for now, I'm not really incentivized to do anything, and that does sound strange. But if my opponent is putting no pressure on me, and we're going to keep this land on top actually, if my opponent is putting no pressure on me, I have no reason to use any of my resources. There's no point playing a Pixie as a 1/1 flyer unless we've already got them so low and we have a very aggressive hand. But we don't really have an aggressive hand. We do have a couple of cheap creatures, but we're not going to be aggressive enough to get them down where playing the Pixie on its own is worth it. And we have nothing to exile with the Sheltered by Ghost, so there's no point in playing that either. We could have played Pixie to bounce the Charming Prince again, but I kind of wanted to save Pixie for bouncing Tithing Blade when he starts playing creatures, and we can also just choose to play it to bounce the Prince at any time. So now that he's played a creature, this is where this deck really gets to shine. We just play Tithing Blade. And then we can play Pixie to pick it straight back up. So, looking at this, opponent might be a tokenish deck. Okay, that's good for us to see. We like seeing that. So what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to definitely play the Tithing Blade, but then I think I'm going to play Bat. It's really the clear choice to play. But I don't feel like I need to hold the Bat up any longer, and if I can snipe some removal, I can stop my opponent from doing much. There we go. So it is a tokens deck, since it's running this, and because we can snipe this removal, I don't think we have much to be scared of from our opponent, unless they manage to draw like a board clear or something like that. We've already got them really low. This Mondrak can allow for some really broken things to happen. It's possible that opponent's a bit of a combo deck, but we've just got removal for days. So I can just play this Sheltered by Ghosts. I'll put it on the Pixie because Bat's already got lifelink anyway. And we can get in. At this point as well, we have 2 Aether Channelers in hand, so we can now just bounce whatever opponent plays, so we don't really have to worry at all. And we draw another Sheltered by Ghost anyway. Just in case, I think I will. No, actually, I am gonna do this because I don't want him to kill the creature on the stack in case he did get any removal. This is only a tempo play rather than getting rid of the creature by Sheltered by Ghost, but considering how low we've got them, I wanted to play around the removal a bit. Okay, so we get them. That's game 1 easily down. Now, as for sideboarding... Removal seems really good against their deck if you can pick it up early. From what we've seen, they do have a couple of enchantment creatures. Nowhere to run could be good as well. I definitely think this is a match where I'm going to need other removal, so I'm going to take out the Treacherous Greed. I'm probably going to actually put in the Destroy Evil. I'm not sure how many enchantments they have, but just for getting rid of some of the bigger key creatures, especially the Mondrak, would be nice. Now, I don't have a way to get through the Indestructible. I could opt to try and get rid of their hand quicker, because they seem like a deck that's not going to be able to deal with having their hand emptied. And if I can get them on top deck mode, that's going to be really good. I think for now... Yeah, I think for now I'm going to opt to remove those and put in the Skullcap Snails. And we'll run it like that, I think. Usually I only put in the Skullcap Snails for control, but seeing as this deck does seem to be a bit slower, I think I can afford to have them in. It's another 2-laned hand, but we do have a lot that we can play with it, so I'm happy to keep it. We also have all of our colours. It is a bit of a slow hand due to these both being tap lands. If you have better lands when making this deck, I'd definitely suggest putting them in. It's just the fact that I haven't been playing on Arena a ton, so I'm not up to date with a lot of the stand lands, and these do tend to work quite well in this deck, allowing you to have your land come in untapped in the later parts of the game, especially because I've got things like Hopeless Nightmare and a lot of cheap creatures to just keep hitting them for damage. Okay, so opponent's mulled to 6. I'm going to put in a Murky Sewer tapped. I don't want to have to play the Hopeless Nightmare this turn, and it looks like I won't have to, which is very nice. The reason I didn't want to have to play it is because once I get 3 mana, I can use Virtue of Knowledge to copy the trigger, and that's going to be really helpful, and it also means I can play a bat next turn as well. Okay, well I can't remove the Umbras Forge, and that's going to keep becoming more and more of a problem, so I'd rather him play the creature next turn, because there's a lot more I can deal with that. I mean, I can destroy it with with Destroy Evil. It will come back as an enchantment, but that's not too bad for us. I still think I probably prefer to remove... Oh, actually, you know what? I can play the Skullcap Snail to further deny them on cards, and I don't mind the Snail dying, because it permanently gets rid of the card anyway, unlike Deep-Cavern Bat, which keeps the card from them. And then I can just hit in for damage. Now next turn's where I can go for the Hopeless Nightmare Virtue of Knowledge play, which will get rid of both cards in a hand, which is good. I could also go for Deep-Cavern Bat here to copy with Virtue of Knowledge to just take both cards, but I don't really feel like I need to do that when I can just make them discard them, so I'm going to just use Hopeless Nightmare to discard them. Copy on the stack with the adventure here. Alright, they're both lands anyway. Go to combat. Now the good thing about the bats is I don't really mind him swinging in with the Brazen Collector, because it's just chip damage, and I'm going to be healing little bits of lifelink, so he's definitely going to lose out on life faster than I am. So no blocks here. I'd rather block the Enduring Innocence, because that's got lifelink, and because I would like to... If I can block it and turn it into enchantment, then I can just get rid of it with Destroy Evil. Now here, he's only got 1 card in hand. I may as well just play this Virtue of Knowledge just outright, because then anything I draw that has an Enters effect is just going to be so much better for allowing me to seal this game. At this point, I'm just hoping to prevent my opponent from having any sort of comeback. Yep, so we'll take it. It's still going to take a long time for our opponent to bring us down. So now we have 2 Destroy Evils. I'm still not inclined to really do anything there, but I'll play the bat, because I can now take both cards in hand as long as they're not lands. Yep, so I'll take that. I don't know why he didn't play that to get rid of the Virtue of Knowledge, to be honest. I really think he should have. And then here I'm considering sacking the Hopeless Nightmare, but at the moment I have no need to. So if I feel like he starts to be a problem, I will do that. But for now, I'm just going to put a stop on his end step in case I redecide. You know what, I will actually sack it just because if I manage to get any draw power, that's going to benefit me so much more. Yeah, so those were two pretty dead draws at that point. So now we get a Fear of Isolation, which would have been nice to bounce the Hopeless Nightmare to hand. But that's alright, we'll keep it on hand for now, and I'm just going to play another Virtue of Knowledge. That way, if our opponent ever starts holding cards up in hand, we can make them just exile them with the Skullcap by bouncing it with Fear of Isolation and playing it again. And there's the Aether Channeler. That probably seals this game because we just get to draw endless amounts of cards here, and we get to bounce it with Fear of Isolation as well. A Tithing Blade is really good here as well. We'll play the Temple of Silence. Yeah, we'll keep that on top. And now here I'm just going to play the Tithing Blade just to make them sack both their creatures. Now, because of the way this works, because I've got 3 Virtue of Knowledge, the Enduring Innocence will sack... sorry, this is if it would come back as a creature. Because it comes back as an enchantment, this doesn't matter. There's another creature that it does matter for in the stand format, that when it dies, it just comes back to the battlefield tapped. If you have multiple triggers of Tithing Blade on a stack, it will get rid of it once it comes back. Because the ability for it to return to the battlefield when it dies will interrupt in between the Tithing Blade triggers. And there we go, we get that game. This deck, I do know that this deck feels pretty mean to verse, because you're essentially just denying your opponent of everything. And it's not meant to be like a hard control deck, but it is, I'd say, a mid-range control deck, because you're trying to play resource denial. Alright, we've got another game here against a gold opponent now. We get the option to play first again, which is good. We can't keep this hand though. We just can't keep a 1 mana hand. And we're getting another 1 mana hand, so we're probably going to have to go 5 here, which is really bad. It's especially bad when we get 3 1 mana hands in a row. That is so unlikely. Now, we're going to keep this because we don't want to go below 5. We're going to get rid of Virtue of Knowledge. And then here is a bit of a hard decision what we get rid of, but I think it's going to be a bat just so we have variety here. And then what we're going to have to do... Unfortunately, we're going to have to try and guess what land we're going to get. Actually, I might... Because it's unlikely we get an untapped land anyway, so I'll leave it for 1 turn. We get another bat again. So at this point, I'm going to crack it for a black mana. Or maybe I'll just keep it up. Because the thing is, if we don't fetch for a land, we're much more likely to... Well, not much more. A little more likely to draw another land. There we go. Okay. It's tap land anyway. So now we can fetch for a black mana. And we'll do that now. We're a little bit behind our opponent now, but that's hopefully going to be fine. They're playing Flash. Okay, so that's fine. That shouldn't be a problem, I hope. The biggest problem about them playing Flash is the fact that because they're ahead of us now, they just get to hold up denial for everything we play while hitting us, and we have nothing on board to stop them. But we can at least force them to counter everything we do. So right off the bat, I'm just going to play a bat. And I'm going to force that counter spell. Yep. Now the other problem is this Cutthroat's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger for every counter spell they play. But I do have to go through for the throat. If I can eventually get to play that, then we'll be solid. But for now, it's going to be a bit iffy. We do have the mana for Tithing Blade and Bounce, so it is possible we could go for that, just to make them sacrifice this. And I might actually do that, because if they counter this, it's not too big of a deal, and then I could still play the Pixie as a blocker. It means that I'm playing 2 spells per turn and hopefully trying to waste resources. Opponent's thinking about it. Now, I don't have higher hopes on winning this game anymore just because we got stuck on land for so long. And because they're playing this style of deck, it's really good for them to be ahead like this. Because we have absolutely no pressure on board, it makes things a bit hard. So they've allowed the Tithing Blade, that's fine. And I can hopefully force them to counter the Pixie by bouncing the Tithing Blade again. Especially because if they let the Pixie fly and they don't play any other spells, which that's unlikely, they're definitely going to play another spell. But if they let the Pixie go, then I've got another blocker for whatever they play that is 2 toughness. Okay, so there we go. That's good that I get that out the way as well. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, because these are instant speed, I'm going to try and do it in his turn to force the play. I'm just going to make it look like I have nothing. Okay. Yep. So this is a good thing about having 2 go for the throats, because if he counters one in his turn, he may not have it for my turn. So I believe he's got another counter up. I'd be surprised if he didn't. I'm just hoping he's forced to use a more expensive one. He still could have another counter in hand, which is unfortunate. And if I don't draw a land, he's probably going to have the ability to play it. Oh, okay. That's good. That means he could only have Spell Pierce. I can't remember if Spell Pierce is still legal in Standard, but it would make sense if he still had Spell Pierce. No, he doesn't. Okay, so we have a chance to come back. It's a slim chance, especially because we've been so stuck on mana, but at least we have a chance. If we can draw a land next turn and he still has no counters, we can go for the Deep-Cavern Bat and then get a copy of the trigger. We don't get that, but that's fine, because Pixie is actually really good as well, because we can bounce the Tithing Blade. Alright. That's fine. We could have tried to play the Pixie first, but I'd rather hold up removal in case he plays another threat than trying to get the bat resolve. This is going to be a real slog of a game, though. If I manage to get this, I'd be impressed. Because opponent just has so much more mana than us. So there's the Tolarian Terror. Well, I guess we'll see if opponent has another counter. I'm guessing he does, because I don't think he would have played the Tolarian Terror if he didn't. Oh, okay, he has the Resolute Reinforcements. Yep. And that's put us in a tough situation. We can't even attack now, we just have to pass turn. Okay, that's going to be game, so I'm happy to concede here. Alright, so opponent's playing control. We're going to put in the snails. So he's playing flash control as well. I'm definitely taking out the Treacherous Greed, just because it is really bad in control matchups. I'm going to try and put in the No More Lies. What should I take out for that? I'll take out Virtue of Knowledge. So either that or I take out both Elesh Norns, because it's a lot harder to get them to function against control. I might do that, actually. Because the Virtue of Knowledge I can always use to copy triggers on the stack, which is kind of helpful. And it can force counters, but Elesh Norn, as good of a card as it is, it's a good blocker though. Maybe I will just go down one of those. And then I still need one card to go down. It might be a Tithing Blade just because I saw reinforcements. And I'll try it like that. There's an argument for putting Cut Down in as well. In exchange for a Tithing Blade and another card. And now we see nothing but lands. Alright, Arena, I see how you want to play it. I don't think we can keep this hand. It's just too much mana, and we can't guarantee that we're not going to draw more. We don't really have much plays after the Hopeless Nightmare because they're Sheltered by Ghosts. If this was like any other thing that we could use to get some more traction, then maybe, but this is something we can run. We'll have to think about what we want to tuck though. I think it's going to be the Sheltered by Ghosts, oddly enough, because our hand is much better at playing with the Tithing Blade than a Sheltered here. Even though the Sheltered does get rid of anything, we kind of just want to get multiple threats down really quickly. Alright, so I'm going to start with a snail, just because I want to keep cutting down cards in a hand. And then next turn we can go for the Fear of Isolation to bounce it to our hand so we can play it again the turn after, and we can just keep hitting their hand. If we get stuck on lanes again, that's probably going to be a bit troubling for us. Okay, it is a little bit troubling. However, we'll go to combat first. Cutthroat's a 2-1, so we're fine attacking like this for this turn. Okay. Because it's now done that, which one do I prefer to do more? I think, honestly, I prefer to do this more, because I want to be able to replay the Hopeless Nightmare now, rather than Skull Cups now. Oh, he discards a Terror. That's kind of good for me, because the Terror would be hard for me to remove on this board with my current hand anyway. I'd like another land though. Because at the moment I can't really afford to give him breathing room, and my attacks aren't even really good either. So I feel like I'm pressured into playing the Fear of Isolation. But what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go to attacks, because I want to be the aggressor here, and I would like to force him to make worse decisions, which he didn't make. That's fine. I think I'm still going to play the Fear of Isolation. I would rather force him to not be playing creatures, because I'm going to be playing flyers So if I can force him to counter stuff, that's going to be good. Alright, Fabled Passage is fine. I think this turn we're just going to hold up the No More Lies as a counter. Yep. Alright. I'm just going to get another black mana. Double Hopeless Nightmare. Okay, that's pretty good to get, to be honest. I get to put a lot of pressure on his hand now. I like seeing this in the bin. That's really good for me. I could draw another card, but honestly, I'm just going to play another Hopeless Nightmare. It lets that resolve as well. So I'm getting him really low on life total. Okay, he's going to play a Cutthroat. That's fine. Yeah, absolutely I'm going to block. I don't want that thing getting any bigger. That is fine with me. Alright, so Fabled Passage, I'm just going to grab a island. Now here, I'm going to pop the Tithing Blade. If he has a counter, I force him to use it. Negate, that's fine. And I will opt to not pop my clue, just to maybe bluff a counterspell. Not really worth much, but that's fine. If I get a land here and I'm able to put down Elesh Norn, that's so good for me. We have 2 chances to get an untapped land here. That's an untapped land. That's perfect. We get to play Elesh Norn. Now, if our opponent doesn't get removal, we can start chipping in. Okay, that's good. We've got a counter up to protect our Elesh now. And we can start cracking Hopeless Nightmares for our next draw. I'd prefer to only crack 1 if I can, just because if I can get a Pixie or anything like that. Pixie, replaying the Hopeless Nightmare is huge for us. And it will seal this game. Now, I also got to kind of hope that any removal that he plays is expensive enough that No More Lies will actually allow me to counter it. If he plays a 2 mana or less removal for Elesh, then he'll just be able to pay the cost. I'm going to bottom both here, just because neither of those really help me right now. Now, I know I have this to chip in as well, and that might be what I do this turn. How much does that leave me with? That leaves me with 2 mana exactly, so enough mana for No More Lies. So I will do that, actually. Alright, here we go. Cutthroat. That's fine, because I can always just kill that. And I can do that on my opponent's turn, so that's absolutely fine. We're still chipping him down. I could use the map token now to explore, but I'm not going to. He plays another Cutthroat. Again, that's fine. It's not really a problem. He could have removal for Elesh. So maybe I should just pass. But then again, I've still got the Anchorage to attack, so... Okay, he's got a counterspell. That's fine. Sheltered by Ghost is going to get me there. He's got no counters up, and I can remove both of these things because of Elesh Norn, and if we get lifelink on Elesh Norn as well, not that it matters. Alright, we're able to get game 2 there. Adjustment-wise, as I said, I could put in the cut down. I just don't know if it does enough. We haven't seen a ton of creatures from him, so I'm kind of inclined to keep the deck as it is. The only other thing I'm considering is maybe the Soul Guide Lanterns, because, or even just one, just because then I can exile his yard. I'm still running 3 Tithing Blades, and they haven't been feeling the best, so maybe I cut one more Tithing Blade and just put in a Soul Guide Lantern. Because if I can prevent his terrors from being really cheap, then that's going to be really good. This is fine. This end's 100% keepable. I'm not going to have the mana for No More Lies initially, but just the fact that I'm going to be able to curve into... Oh, there we go. Turns out I will. So that's really good. Oh, opponent's going to cast something. Okay. That's really good for us. That means we start with Bat, for sure. Yeah, that means we absolutely start with Bat, because we wanna try and pave our way to have... Oh, okay. So he's definitely holding up a counter next turn. I think I just take... Do I just take the Terror, or do I take a counter? Well, I have Lord Skitter, so if I play trying to get Lord Skitter on the field, then I don't really need to take the Terror, so I'll take a 3 steps ahead. And I don't care if he chips in, so at the moment this is kind of a stalemate. Yep, I've got lifelink. I don't care. And I've got the Soul Guide Lantern now, so that's even more reason for me to be absolutely fine with this. Do I hold up the No More Lies to try and gotcha for the 3 steps ahead? Because if he tries to draw and discard, yeah, I might do that. I'm going to hold it up for now for attacks. I'm going to keep Aether Channeler on top, because if I'm not able to play around a counter, I can play Aether Channeler maybe before Lord Skitter to bait the counter out. Okay, so he does have... Oh, I don't have the mana for No More Lies. I think I'm okay with putting that on top. And then I'm just going to play Charming Prince here. And I'm going to gain 3 life, because we know what the top 2 cards are. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to grab... I'll grab another white, I think. Grab another plains. Now, I kind of want to save this to protect the Lord Skitter play. He's got no cards in Yard, so I think for now I just play Deep-Cavern Bat, and then I can play the Soul Guide. Because I want to force the 3 steps ahead to be used. He's going to play a No More Lies here, and I could stop it. Oof. I could stop it. Okay, so if I don't stop it, next turn he passes turn. This is going to become 1 cheaper, so it'll become 6. He's going to get to 5 mana next turn. Yeah, I don't think I stop it, because I think there's too many things I want to stop. Like this Horn-locked Whale. But I play the Soul Guide Lantern. I might even draw a card off of it. This is a very tense match because I'm having to play very carefully here. Okay, I'm gonna sack this to draw a card. It does mean I'm banking a little bit on the Lord Skitter play. That does help. Alright, so we're gonna cast Lord Skitter now. And that's what I thought it would do. Okay, so that's really good for me. Getting Lord Skitter on the battlefield is just so good for me because I just keep getting to make tokens as long as he doesn't have removal. And if he decides to play the whale on my turn, I can just kill it with Go for the Throw and pay the ward for it. There's a Tithing Blade as well. That's also really good. Okay, so it's going to cast Cutthroat here. And hold up the counter. That's fine. I think I just attack with Rat and Charming Prince. Because Lord Skitter's value at the moment is purely just to make tokens, and now I have no problem playing Tithing Blade because he blocked, so now I kind of force him to use a 3 steps ahead to save the Brineborn Cutthroat. Yep. Which again, it doesn't really worry me. I'd rather be able to use Go for the Throat on the big thing. My life is a resource, and I'm going to be making more and more creatures. So you're kind of seeing part of why Lord Skitter is in this deck, because he's just such a powerhouse. Just constantly making tokens, constantly exiling graveyards. I'm cutting him off being able to play the Tolarian Terror unless he spends all his mana for it. Okay, so he's going to be able to kill the Charming Prince now. He is getting up a decent amount of creatures, so I'm wondering if this is where I go for the Throat. I'd feel more comfortable about it if I could get down Virtue of Knowledge. I think I'm going to go for it. Okay, so he had another counter, and I basically just forced him to use that now. which I'm kind of fine about. Yeah, well, I'm not blocking, because I'm still pretty confident about my chances here, as long as I get some decent draws. And that is a pretty decent draw for me. Okay. So these rats can't block anyway, so I'm just going to keep chipping in. Now, I'm not dead yet, but I'm really needing a good draw here, otherwise I will lose this match. So I might put a stop on my upkeep here. So I can put him down. At the moment he's threatening lethal, so I have to block. I can take out a blocker, and I think that might have to be my best move here. And then I'll just go down to 2. Okay, so here's where I'm like, do I sack my Hopeless Nightmare or not? And I think I have to. But I'm not sure if there's any one draw I can get that will get me out of this, even with the Virtue of Knowledge on the field. No, I don't think there is. I think I just have to prey on what I draw. Because of these both having Ward 2, it makes it a little hard, even with Virtue of Knowledge, to get around it. I'd need to be able to have 2 mana. Okay, this is exactly the card I was talking about, so the fact that I got this is insane. This is exactly the card I was talking about when I was thinking that I needed a specific card to win. Now I just have to think about my options here, because I can bounce the Hopeless Nightmare to do another 4 to them, but that's not going to be lethal. I can draw 2 cards and prey on that, or I can go for the guaranteed play to last me another turn, which I think is what I'll have to do here. So I'm going to bounce the Cutthroat, and I'm going to bounce the Tolarian Terror, and I'm going to pay the Ward. And I'm going to be forced to block the Horned Lockwhale here. But now I'm in a bit of a... Oh, I better put the stop here. Now I'm in a bit of a better position where I'm more happy to go for this. Because getting a Tithing Blade here, even though I've gotten rid of so many, getting a Tithing Blade here would do it. Getting another Aether Channeler would help me do it. Oof. Getting another Lord Skitter does not quite do it. I think I have to bottom both. Yeah, I have to bottom both and try. Okay, that is game. Okay. This was a hard matchup. I got a lot of bad luck when it came to my opening hands. But it still came out to be a very close game. So, unfortunately, my opponent just started to get up a few too many creatures. And he had a lot of counters this game as well. So I wasn't able to stick as many things as I wanted to. I don't know if there's anything I should have done different. Maybe I should have kept the growth for the throat rather than getting rid of the Cutthroat, but he just had too many Cutthroats growing as well. He got 3 Cutthroats. Sorry, it was a bit difficult. Alright, but that was the showcase of my deck, Echoing Nightmares for Standard. I hope you liked the video. If you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more. I'll be releasing more deck tech soon. I might do a couple more games of this deck as well, just to show a bit more of how it functions and all the cool things you can do with it. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the video. See you next time.